I really believe that the economy has turned the corner and we're heading in the right direction.
3 days later.
The UK economy is in recession.
Well, it seems the apocalyptic soothsayers were right. It's official, the UK has plunged into recession. Every single video we've made on the luxury goods market this past 2 years has carried a comment section dominated with armchair experts warning that a recession is coming and things are going to get worse. Whilst the Governor of the Bank of England has remarked that the UK recession may already be over and that there are distinct signs of an upturn, a recession is a recession. Be it deep or shallow, it is absolutely not what the luxury watch market needs following 18 months of stagnation. In all honesty, we didn't think this would transpire. Just 2 weeks ago, I predicted that grey market values would reach stasis by the second half of this year, with potentially growth by the final quarter. The headline is just that, a headline. And while it doesn't really affect the economic outlook for the rest of the year, here's why it does have an immediate impact and could set back my growth forecasts by many months. Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Vinny, a former accountant turned businessman and watch dealer. Now, the news that nobody wanted to hear, and particularly the news that the government really wanted to steer away from for as long as they possibly could, and that is, of course, that the UK has officially plunged into a recession. Now, the government want to shroud that headline with the usual political spin that it is only a technical recession. Now, as I said at the top of the video, a recession is a recession, and when it happens, when it is announced, the headline in itself has an impact. It has an impact on financial markets, and it also has an impact on consumer spending. Certainly on items that we talk about on this channel, luxury watches, luxury goods in general, those are discretionary purchases, and that rationalization of making such a purchase will change. So what I wanted to look at really is traditionally what usually happens during a recession for luxury brands like Rolex and other luxury goods sectors, and weigh that up really with how I believe that is different to the current recession that we're in. Interestingly, the historical data suggests that luxury brands really weather economic recessions quite well and remain quite resistant to external economic shocks such as recessions. But as we've learned in the past couple of years in the watch industry, and particularly the grey secondary watch market, watches and other luxury goods as well have become susceptible to market shocks. So the traditional accepted economic theory for sales for luxury goods during the recessionary period is really built on a couple of different pillars. They remain strong and successful because luxury brands often have a strong emotional appeal. They're associated with luxury, exclusivity and sophistication. This can therefore make their goods seem even more desirable during times of economic turbulence, where people are looking for ways to feel better about themselves. The second factor that forms a bedrock of that economic theory is that luxury brands tend to have a loyal client base. Many people who buy luxury goods do so on a regular basis, and this really helps to insulate those luxury brands from the effects of economic turbulence. But let's see what history has to say about that then, shall we? Because we of course have got the data to look back at some of the most recent recessions and times of economic turbulence to really explore how luxury brand sales were affected by these times. During the Great Recession of 2008 to 2009, luxury brands saw a decline in sales of up to 20%. This was due to a number of factors, including job losses, declining consumer confidence, and a shift in spending habits. In 2012, the European debt crisis caused particular issues for the luxury goods market in countries like Spain and Italy, which saw a decline in luxury sales by up to 15%. And of course, most recently in 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic and global lockdowns caused major issues for all retail sectors, never mind just luxury. Sales of luxury goods fell by an estimated 25% as consumers were forced to stay at home. So let's zoom in and focus once again on the watch industry in a UK climate which is now in an official recession. For many people, whilst a conservative fiscal approach during times of economic decline would be to stop spending money that they don't need to spend, in a traditionally conservative luxury watch space, that's what you would expect to happen. But I think that in this current climate and the current situation, set on a backdrop really of the decline in the luxury watch market that we've seen over the last 18 months, is built on this factor that watches were once seen as great investments at times of a rallying market and now are no longer seen as investment assets. And that's a big factor at play here. Very few consumers today consider purchasing a luxury watch without considering the potential resale value. As we saw at the peak of the market, that worth can be based on a current rally in market conditions and high trading prices between dealers. Other times it can be based on speculation that a watch may become worth something in the future. Real or imagined, the idea that a wristwatch is a financial asset is an important part of how and why consumers buy their wristwatches today. Now, this is an important effect during what we're currently in, which is a bear economy, whereby consumers can use this idea that a watch is being purchased as a financial asset to rationalize their purchasing decision more. People buy their watches for pleasure, yes, but they do so with some guilt. Now, that would be the traditional economic theory that, of course, watches are assets and they go up in value and it doesn't really matter because we can rationalize making that purchase at times of recession if we have that kind of disposable income anyway, that yes, we're not really losing that money, we're merely shifting our funds into another asset. Now that we've seen and experienced 18 months of decline in the luxury goods market, and particular for brands like Rolex, I think that psyche amongst watch buyers has shifted. Now, here's why this change in psyche amongst wealthy watch buyers is a bad thing for big watch brands for selling their watches at retail. So over the last few years, that moral rationalization came with the fact that if you wore a wristwatch known to have high value, the message behind it would have been, look at how smart I am with my money because I adorn myself with items of high value that only appreciate even more. This is opposed to the traditional message of, I'm so rich that I can just afford to waste money on an expensive timepiece that I can watch literally depreciate on my wrist. So in modern times, when it comes to buying luxury, that social signaling is different to how it used to be. And it really ties in with that moral rationalization of even how the rich want to display their wealth. They want to display it with sending a message out that they are intelligent rather than they're just being wasteful. And I think that the fact that watches on the secondary market in particular have just done nothing but depreciate in value over the last 18 months is actually seen as reckless, careless behavior to buy one. And I think for that reason, it could have a big impact on, certainly for brands that aren't Rolex, buying a solid gold Omega Speedmaster, for example, at £39,000. You walk out the store and it's suddenly worth £25,000. So that's a big thing that for retail watch sales that I think, set on a backdrop of a recession here in the United Kingdom in particular, need to be aware of. So to summarize, I think that this official announcement of a recession will set things back ever so slightly. I would revise my initial forecast I only made 2 weeks ago of grey market prices starting to stabilize by the middle part of this year and growth in the final quarter. I would really set that back by another 3 to 6 months. So I would expect stasis by the end of the year and then going into the first half of 2025, potentially, barring any other external economic factors transpiring, which of course with wars and pandemics we know are possible, we could then start to see growth once again. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. As ever, thanks very much for joining me. Go check out beatthewaitlist-watches.com and I'll see you next time.